What's going on, everybody? Bill Mack here. Thanks for joining me again for another edition of Pro Wrestling Unleashed. Glad you would click on my video as I give you the results for the September the 4th episode of Raw, and it's a few weeks heading into No Mercy. I thought the night's episode was pretty decent, and it's coinciding with the storylines that are furthering along and carrying towards No Mercy. That's what I feel like this episode was, which was a good episode. The main event I thought was really good, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So let's get right into the results. First matchup we had was John Cena against Jason Jordan. We see Jason Jordan each week trying to up the ante in his matches, and he's been losing every single match he's been in. So I don't know if it's going to this towards his heel turn or not, but he just can't seem to get a break. And I thought he was, when they set this storyline up with Angle and him, he was going to get help from Angle, or he was going to, whatever, but it seems like he's already set up for that heel turn because he's lost every single match he's challenged. This week is against John Cena. Match was pretty much, it was a decent match. Jason kept it ground-based, like amateur wrestling. Cena, more hard-nosed, physical, the way Cena goes in his matchups. Thought was pretty good. The ending comes when Jason Jordan ends up going for the Angle Slam, but then we see that John reverses that into an AA. Now, mind you, before that, Jason had hit two beautiful Northern Light suplexes on Cena, and Cena kicked out at two, which was like, okay, well, because he rolled through it like Cena does. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is showing something, because they referred back to it being 10 years since Kurt, or actually longer than that, when Cena first challenged Kurt over on SmackDown. So they were giving you this kind of feel that something might happen, but of course, being typical WWE fashion, they might hype it all up for nothing. But yeah, of course, Cena ended up hitting the AA out of the counter to the Angle Slam, and basically John Cena wins. Now, Roman Reigns' music hits, and we see Roman Reigns come out, and those two are talking and cutting a promo on each other, continuing on their verbal usage back and forth between each other, and Cena says he doesn't respect Roman. Roman says he doesn't respect Cena, and Roman told him, hey, if you want to beat me up now, go right ahead. I'm right here. Let's do it now. So that's how come Roman Reigns says he didn't respect Cena, because Cena just laid back on the ropes and just had this smirk on his face that he typically has when he gets a challenge. And he told Cena, he said, Roman told Cena, he said, look, you've had this rookie, and it took you about 20 minutes to beat him. Now, are you just trying to lift his spirits up, make him think he's going to win or have a chance, or are you just doing what you said you were last week and a liar about everything, that you just don't got it anymore? So they went back and forth, and basically whenever Cena refused to fight or beat up Roman, Roman stepped out the ring and left. So they're continuing on their storyline, which I really don't care about. I'm not a big Cena fan or a big Roman Reigns fan, so this match really does nothing to me, except it gives me the reason to think they're trying to get the fans to get behind Cena. Roman's, of course, sounded like he was playing the heel last night, and the reaction he got was basically that same thing too. So this just further alongs their storyline and their pure dislike for each other and the back and forth that they've been given. Up next, we had a tag team matchup between Sheamus and Cesaro against Slater and Rhino. This must have been just a tune-up match. I see no reason why Slater and Rhino really haven't competed for anything on there. Cesaro and Sheamus are in a tag team match at No Mercy for the titles. So just beyond me, but of course we know that Cesaro ends up throwing Slater out of the ring, and we see Rhino ended up getting hit with the bro kick, and for the 1, 2, 3, Sheamus and Cesaro defeat Rhino and Slater. Really no big shock there. We see Renee Young in the back. She's talking to Jeff Hardy, and she's getting his opinion on having to face The Miz tonight for the Intercontinental title. He says no matter how old you are, you can still do it. He says there's either two things going to happen. One, that he said he's going to either, Jeff says he'll go out in a blaze of glory, or two, he'll walk out the Intercontinental Champion. And Matt reiterates, if the Miz Raj getting in the way, I'll have to hit them with a twist of fate. So that leads into their matchup for later on in the night. But then we have a backstage segment. Well, no, we don't. We had the Intercontinental title. Don't let me get ahead of myself here. We had backstage the Intercontinental fight match tonight. I felt like it was a good match. The Miz and Jeff Hardy put on. Jeff, it'd been, they said, 10 years since he'd had his last IC title reign, or at least IC title. So, they were thinking maybe it might work, but it's Raw, so you know how that's going to go, per se. Anyway, we come to a point where Matt and the Mr. Raj end up both getting ejected. We see that Jeff ends up climbing. The ending comes when Jeff comes up on the top rope, misses a swanton. We end up seeing Jeff try, when he gets up, to try to hit the twist of fate on Miz. Miz ends up reversing that into a skull-crushing finale. Hence, 1, 2, 3. Miz is still your Intercontinental Champion. So, good match, good singles match. And I don't think this is the last we're going to see of Jeff in a singles competition. So, it remains to be seen on where he's going to go from there. Now we come to the backstage segment with Nia Jackson. She's upset because Sasha is getting that championship title match. And then Emma comes in, and Emma's complaining about her not getting a title shot. So Kurt Angle makes a tag match tonight. He says Nia and Alexa, Nia and Emma will team up, and they'll take on Alexa and Sasha. And here's a stipulation: if Nia and Emma win, he'll make it a fatal 4-way. But if Alexa and Sasha win, he said it'll be a one-on-one match. So this is a good way to get Nia in the mix for a championship match. Even though, like I said, I'm not a big fan of hers right now because of her continued hurting of other wrestlers. She's still really green. I mean, she's a monster, but only a monster can take so far. These other women are, talented, athletic, and her size and being that monster in the ring is showing, because in her matches, you can tell that power that she has. So it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens later on in the matchup. Will they win? Will it be a fatal 4-way, or will it still be one-on-one? We'll find out. We have a 6-man tag match, cruiserweights. Of course, we have Enzo Amore, we have Grand Metalik, and we have Cedric Alexander taking on Nomar Dahl, Tony Nese, and Drew Gulak. I don't know what they're doing with Enzo. Enzo's come back. He's cheated to win his first match. Then now we've seen him in this one, and he's cutting a promo on guys. I know the promo had to last a good while before the match did. Match wasn't a bad match. Cruiserweights can put on a good match. They have the talent, but as we see, the ending comes basically as Cedric Alexander and Grand Metalik are getting ready to do that a dive over the top rope and land on Tony Nese and them. But as they're back hitting the ropes to go forward, Enzo tags Alexander, which makes him the legal man. So Gulak is on the inside. And we see that he is laying down. So we end up seeing he comes face to face with Enzo after all 40 rest of the competitors are on the outside. He pokes Gulak in the eye, and then he hits a move, and I still haven't gotten that move yet. I've seen some people call it the eat defeat, which would eat defeat, like DEFEAT. I've seen that, and then I've seen it called something else. I'm really not sure on what that move is yet, but that's what he ends up hitting. And I don't think the other guys know exactly what it did, but we've seen Enzo with these tactics and these underhanded tactics to win, as such as he did last week when he made his wrestling debut. So that remains to be seen on if he's going to be a heel or what they're trying to get out of Enzo during this. But like I said, folks, Enzo did get the win for his team, so really can't blame you. He said he's not cheating unless you get caught. That's what he said. So then we have Alexa and Sasha Banks backstage, and they're talking between each other. Sasha's telling her, we've got to get along because I'd rather for this to be me versus you rather than the chances even growing less for her to win if there's a fatal 4-way. So they're having this backstage one about this. So we have an in-ring segment with Finn Balor, and he's talking about, Bray Wyatt, and how he said you never really can get rid of a character like Bray Wyatt. He's done playing the games, and if he does, that he's ready to play the game. And then he also mentions that if Bray can run from his, but he said, but Finn said, "Hey, I become mine." So then we see Bray Wyatt come on the Titantron, and he starts talking about shooting a bow and arrow as a kid and that being his weapon and whatnot. And he had to one day put it down and show that he was a man. And he relates that to Finn and using the demon as his weapon. And he tells him, he said, Finn Balor didn't defeat me. He said, the demon did. Why don't you show me who you really are and fight me as a man? So then Balor said, I know who I am. He said, I'm Finn Balor. So now Bray is setting up a match where he's facing Finn Balor as Finn Balor and not as the Demon, which we know at the paper at SummerSlam he did lose to the Demon. So this sets it up for later, for No Mercy. Now it comes to tag team women's match. We have Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, who is the women's champion, taking over on Nia Jax and Emma. Pretty much Nia showed her power in this matchup. I mean, you can even tell Alexa looked very tiny and with her. Ending comes, Emma gets worked on most of the matchup. They beat up on her. Nia gets the tag. Nia dominates. Nia ends up hitting a leg drop onto Sasha, and then Emma ends up blind tagging Nia after the leg drop, and she ends up getting the quick win. So now the match becomes a fatal four-way at No Mercy for the Raw Women's title rather than a one-on-one matchup. Nia isn't happy that Emma tagged herself in and stole the pin from her. So then she ends up hitting that backdrop, which I call it the Samoan drop because that's exactly what it is, on Emma, and then she ends up leaving the ring. So Emma still can't get her way either way, no matter what she tries to do. We see Braun Strowman, and he's being interviewed in the back, and he talks about tonight versus the Big Show, that they saw what he done to him last time when the ring collapsed. He said that he was going to take tonight's matchup and he was going to send a point to Kurt Angle, to Brock Lesnar, and to the Big Show. That he said no matter where the Monster of Men goes, destruction follows. So very intense interview. I like Braun. He cuts really good promos to show you just what he means. And it's funny because then we see the next matchup coming, Dean Ambrose and Seth, the tag champions, come to the ring, and Elias starts playing a song, and Dean is just and Seth are just smiling and seem like they're playing to it, which is odd because wasn't too long ago Elias was taking on Dean Ambrose, but kind of funny segment there when Elias was playing. Remember, Elias done this funny song about Omaha before Raw came on live, so it was on WWE exclusive, which is why we didn't see Elias this week on WWE Raw. So then we have the tag team tag team matchup. We have the Club taking on Ambrose and Rollins. We seen Sheamus and Cesaro coming in the ring arguing with the Club before the match even starts, which they end up standing most of the outside on the outside. They didn't interfere in the match. They were just watching it, scouting the matchup. It came down to where Cesaro, basically, they went to interfere, but Rollins ends up running Ambrose into Cesaro, and then he gets to roll up pin for the 3 count on Anderson. This upsets the Club after Sheamus and Cesaro are on the outside, while the Hardys are while Ambrose and Rollins are at the top of the ramp, looking back. So Sheamus and Cesaro get upset. They run into the ring and end up clearing out the Club. So I thought this was going to be a big point for the Club, but in the end, it was end up showing the power of Sheamus and Cesaro. Up next, we have a backstage segment with Neville, with Enzo, Cedric, and Grand Metalik, and he's like, we done talked to Kurt. Kurt says that you 3 guys, you're going to be there's going to be a fatal 5-way on 205 Live. Whoever wins faces me at No Mercy. He said, and because he made that point because Enzo, just a few minutes before he came in, was wanting to take them all out for Omaha Steaks to eat, and Neville makes the point and says, friends one day, foes the next day. So he kind of tries to get some dissension between any camaraderie that Enzo was trying to bring them together, because he was talking to them about the match and how things went. So then we come to an interview when they're interviewing the ref that did the Big Show Braun match the first time. He ends up going to be this when he was like, hey, I'm just going to try to stay out of my way to avoid anything from happening. And then he talks to the Big Show, and he gets upset and takes offense that Braun tells him he's going to put him out to pasture and this, that, and the other. And he said he was the world's largest athlete. It was a real intense interview from the Big Show. Then we come down to it, and this is the steel cage match. Like I said, folks, I thought this was the best match of the night. It was a good physical match, and but you had between the two biggest guys, you had the Big Show and you had Braun, and I just felt like this was the best match tonight. A lot of physicality in this match, and lasted 20 minutes. I mean, the Big Show and Braun gave 20 minutes in this matchup. They showed off power, ability. The Big Show at one point drops the elbow, which we should see. You'll see in one of these pictures. Seeing in one of my picture, dropped an elbow off the top rope, and reminiscent of Macho Man. You imagine a close to 400-pound man dropping an elbow off the top. But Braun was just so strong. He fought through a knockout punch, which happened at the very beginning. But Braun really took it to Big Show at some point, especially at the beginning. Big Show was worn out. Big Show hit him with the KO punch. Both men were down. Big Show couldn't take advantage of it, couldn't climb, and this was a steel cage match. Let me remind you, that was a steel cage match, and they reinforced the ring not once but twice to make sure they didn't repeat what happened. So I thought that was some good hype. They didn't have to do that, but I thought it was really good just showing you the strength of these guys. We see basically Braun deliver. He hit not one but two of those super power slams that he does. And the Big Show tried his best. Like I said, the match ended basically when Braun hit the power slam finally at the end. And he counted to 3. And then he tells Brock and him this is what's going to be him at No Mercy. So then we basically see him start to head out the door to walk out the steel cage. He stops, and he says that he's going to put the Big Show out to pasture, which is what he said he would do. So then he gets the Big Show up, and he takes him and he power slams him through a section of the steel cage, and the Big Show's laying down there on the bottom as Braun comes out. So showing that strength, showing that massive power, showing that ability, showing that heel that he is. And, they said after Raw that Big Show had a rough time making his way to the back. Coming to find out, folks, on the inside, not part of the show, that Big Show's supposed to have some kind of slight hip surgery, so maybe this is a way of them getting him off. But I thought this was a really good Raw. I thought that the Big Show Braun Strowman match was the best match of the night. It had good physical strength. I mean, the Big Show to do that, and the big superplex at one point where that Braun did this, I thought it was really good. I just like the physical nature of it. So that's basically what happened. So it looks to see what next week happens and whatnot. But sorry it's been a little long, but I thought it was a good show. So until next time, thanks for joining me. Bill Mack here for Pro Wrestling Unleashed. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. Follow me if you're on VidMe. Subscribe to me if you're on YouTube. Share my video if you can. And until next time, this is Bill Mack saying, take it easy.